So, some interesting things to understand about Chiron is that the location of Chiron, which is a planetoid, okay, or an asteroid, its orbital pattern is that between the planet Saturn and Uranus. And so Chiron is referred to as the wounded healer, and also that of the rainbow bridge. And both of these, titles tell a very potent aspect of Chiron's role in our lives and our experience. So the wounding begins with Saturn, because Saturn is like the very harsh third dimensional reality, that which almost crucifies us on some level, and it is the birth of the ego. And now the ego in and of itself is not the problem. From my perspective, and really I think anybody who really has thought about this, I mean, we obviously need our ego. It is part of what creates our sense of purpose on this planet. When somebody understands their own personal purpose and hero's journey, they have much more fulfillment in their life and understand their place in this world. It is an underdeveloped ego or a wounded ego that does not understand their place, and therefore there is much more, there can be like different ways that this is expressed. It can be overcompensation or this kind of devaluing, like really devaluing of self. So, the ego needs to be intact and needs to be healthy. And so in this kind of Saturnian point of view, the ego has been wounded through limitation, through criticism, through like extreme self-consciousness, the inability to value oneself and to connect with your own magic, because there has been some kind of feedback along the way. Okay, so feedback about what is wrong with you. And I really think that we've all experienced this, whether it was in school or whether it was in the family or whether it was, through magazines and television and movies and just this kind of comparison of what is projected to be this kind of like perfect whatever, and how we're always falling short on some level and not living up to the very harsh and strong expectations that society and family can place upon us. And this creates like a great deal, as I keep saying, wounding. So the wound originates in Saturn, okay? And then the liberation from the wounding itself happens with Uranus. And that's why Chiron is this, rainbow bridge, the rainbow bridge from that of the ego that has been damaged through the just being born into really a dysfunctional society. And this healing process that takes us into the realms of Uranus, which is liberation through awareness, through great insights of understanding, the meaning of your life, the value that being an individual brings to the world, that once you understand yourself as an individual and you're not just going with herd mentality anymore, that there is so much more depth, to share. You have more depth to share. You have more insights to share, and that your healing journey itself then becomes the medicine for every other person, and especially for then like your people, because there's people who have very kind of similar wounding, right? And so your journey into self-discovery, your journey into self-reclamation, your journey into self-love, then, you know, gives insight to so many other people because you know the terrain now. Okay, so this is really like important things to understand about like the role of Chiron. And I was talking about in the last video this need to be, you know, we're born, you know, innocent, and then we're crucified on some level, and Chiron really does represent that of the Christ consciousness. So we're crucified in this like third dimensional experience, and then we must navigate, you know, through our own ways, finding our own tools and listening to our own insights that are cosmically inspired, and you know, really, you know, coming to a place where we are born back into our innocence. And you know, like my own experience has been that like the process itself really does, it births so much compassion. Like I know it's so easy to judge other people for how they, you know, act out, and yet when you can truly understand your own disconnection, and when you truly make the effort to come back into yourself and love yourself just as you are, and as I was saying before, like remove all the defense mechanisms so that you can be vulnerable, so that you can be real, so that people can feel you and you can feel others. It is very hard not to be compassionate towards other people, because really we are all here to heal together. We are all here healing. It is so obvious. There is no person on this planet that is not, you know, dealing with their own wounding. And you can't compare the wound. I'm sorry, but you can't, because the experience is very personal. And so, you know, everybody's journey is very, as I was saying, individual. And that's what, you know, Uranus represents. Now the myth of Chiron, which maybe I'll tell in another video, then really it's dog time, really tells the story of how, you know, Saturn and Uranus come together in Chiron's experience too. And as I was saying before, like Chiron is, it's a frequency, as all of these planets are a frequency. So, you know, this is a frequency that we're able to tap into that then reveals so much information the more that we like are available. And how do we become more available? We shine light on the darkness within ourselves. The more that we can, the more of the unconscious that we can bring into our conscious awareness, the more available we are to understand the information that is coming through on like frequencies. Yeah, you become more intelligent in like a cosmic manner. And to be honest, like we are of the stars and we are of the earth, and these are the two, like, you know, aspects of the being that need to come back into unification. You know, we are human, and this is something we really have to accept, and that being human is a beautiful experience. And obviously the wounded human is very, you know, it's a whole other thing. And there's also a human that exists within each of us that is peace. And it really, it is a beautiful, like, you know, being of like what I would say like biological technology. And then we are the stars, you know, and we have the ability to connect to consciousness that is of a very sophisticated nature, but nature's sophisticated as well. It's really, about bringing all of this together in the heart. So, another insight into Chiron for you.